So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Oh my god. Oh my days. There's a massive spider on my lamp, on my ring light. Holy cow. Yeah, I mean, let's forget about that for a second. But yeah, good evening, everyone. Happy 25th of April to every Italians here. Obviously, no school for me today. As for every Italian, it's been national holiday. So I hope everyone enjoyed their day with their families, with their friends, lunch out, dinner out, wherever you're planning to do. Interesting live stream today because I feel like April's about to end. And we've got one last game in April, and then we've got May, which is effectively our last month of action, our last month of the season. And oh boy, it's an important month because we've got Europa League semi-finals, we've got massive games in our Serie A calendar. And I think today's live stream is a very interesting live stream to get a picture of May, what the plan will be for May. Obviously, combining both Serie A and Europa League. You know, we're at that stage where if we wanted to snub Europa League, we had already snubbed Europa League. Now we have two objectives. We want to maybe reach the best out of all these two objectives. Obviously, we have a dream of lifting that trophy. And then we've got more of a realistic option, which is, you know, getting top four. We've got an injury crisis. So how the team will react to this injury crisis. We're going to look at our calendar. We're going to look at our opponents' calendars too. And also, we are going to talk about the Juventus situation because we have updates on the Juventus situation. Which little hint could benefit our top four race. We lost against Atalanta yesterday. I've said this in the match preview already. I was expecting a defeat yesterday. I think it's just the way we lost that game which hurts. I think it's the amount of injuries which we got from that game which hurts. The result does hurt, but I was expecting a defeat. You know, these players are human beings too. They played 120 minutes, high intensity, in a Europa League quarterfinals 3 days prior to that game. Winning yesterday would have been out of this world. And I know it's what all of us wanted, but we also have to speak about the realistic things. And I was never expecting a win yesterday. Maybe a draw, but I was expecting a defeat yesterday. And that's what happened. It's not the end of the world. We have to bounce back, starting from this Saturday against Milan at home. I think the first thing to talk about is our calendar and how we have to play these games with the injury crisis which we already have. So let's look at our calendar because we obviously have quite a few games left between Serie A and Europa League. We have got let me quickly open up our calendar. We've got Milan on Saturday, Monza midweek on Wednesday, Inter Milan next Saturday, then we've got the first leg against Leverkusen at home, Bologna away, second leg against Leverkusen in Germany, Salernitana at home, Fiorentina away, and La Spezia at home will be our last game week of the season. If we reach the Europa League final, the final is the 31st of May, which is 3 days after our Fiorentina game and 5 days before our last game week of the season. We have got one hell of a tough calendar because we are playing both the Milan teams, Fiorentina, Leverkusen 2 times, and we're facing relegation sides too, which at this stage of the season can become, as I always say, the devil's best friend, especially Salernitana and La Spezia. Bologna is a tough one. I think none of these games is an easy game. There is not one game out of our remaining games which I'm confident we're going to win. There is not one game, which kind of sucks. But obviously, it's a step by step. We got to think about Milan first, and we got to think about this month of May with injuries and without injuries. Now, obviously, our injury list is pretty big. It's pretty narrow. We've got Smalling injured, Gini injured, Llorente injured, and Dybala injured. Now, a few updates on these injuries. Now, Smalling will be back in 3 weeks. So, Smalling is going to miss the Milan game. Smalling's going to miss the Monza game. Smalling is going to miss the Inter game. And Smalling is most probably, I hate to say it, going to miss the first leg of Leverkusen, which is at home. And it's not great news because we're not the same team when Smalling doesn't play. Smalling is, I think, the most important piece of this team in terms of connection of our defence. It's not good news. It's tragic news. I am a little bit faithful that Smalling can be back for the first leg of Bayer Leverkusen, but I'm going to give it a 20% chance that he's going to be back for that game. So he's going to miss a lot of games. We've got Gini, who'll be out for 2 weeks, but obviously 2 weeks starting from last Thursday. So Gini, I'd say, will be back in about 1.5 weeks. So he'll definitely be missing Milan, and I think he'll definitely be missing the Monza game. I think, and I'm pretty confident, that Gini will be back for the Leverkusen first leg, if not the Inter game, which is prior to that. Llorente got injured yesterday, and apparently he'll be out for 2 weeks. So people were hypothesizing an end of a season for Llorente. His injury did look pretty nasty because it looked like a hamstring injury. But it should be fine. He'll be out for 2 weeks. It's not the end of the... I mean, it is the end of the world because we don't have Smalling, we don't have Llorente. How the hell do we play these next few games? But that's football. Life's tough. So Llorente will definitely be missing the Milan game, the Monza game, and the Inter game for sure, if not the Bayer Leverkusen game too. And then our last injured is Dybala. Now, Dybala was not already 100% from his previous injury, and yesterday that dickhead of Palomino completely and utterly killed him. And he got an ankle injury, which, according to some journalists, was a pretty bad injury. But there's a lot of optimism from Dybala because he himself told Mourinho and his players, his teammates, that he was okay after the game. And the other optimistic thing is that, yes, he was limping, but he managed to keep on playing with that injury. So Dybala will probably miss the Milan game, but I think he'll be back next Wednesday for Monza in 1 week time. I think, yes, Dybala is at that stage of the season where he's absolutely knackered, he's absolutely dead, he's absolutely, everyone has killed him, but he has to stay strong because Dybala and Smalling are the most important players in this team. So that's the injury crisis. And it's not great because I think we have to adapt. We have to play so many games without these players and so many crucial games because there isn't one game which we could easily win in our calendar. Obviously Milan on Sunday. People are asking who's gonna mark Leao. Don't worry, I've got Leao. I'm gonna mark Leao. I've got my season ticket is meters from the pitch. It's literally, you probably see it from the vlog, from the Serie vlogs. My season ticket this season is that close to the pitch. And that means that Leao's gonna be meters away from me when he attacks. I'm gonna get into that pitch and completely outdone him. Don't worry, I've got Leao. I've got Leao sorted on Saturday. I really do. Injuries is a big thing. Second big thing is the combination of two tournaments. Now, obviously, I've put a poll on, but I want to hear opinions and elaborated thoughts on this. Because it's one of those questions which is so difficult to answer because both of the two answers, yes and no, have pros and cons. The question is the biggest question throughout this throughout this month of May. And the question is, do we go all in Europa League, forget about top four, or do we keep on balancing energies and balancing games between both tournaments? The answer is the second option. I think, I'm not going to call it a mistake, because it's not a mistake. We could win Europa League and everyone would be happy, but it's a risk. Because I was mentioning yesterday in the live watch along, if we go all in Europa League, forget about the top four Champions League thing, and we just focus on Europa League, and then by a little reason we get thrown out by Europa League, if it's in the semi-finals or in the final, the season turns from this palm of hand to this palm of a hand in a matter of seconds. So we have to keep on going with 2 tournaments. I know our squad depth doesn't allow us to play in both tournaments. I know that players are going to be knackered after both Leverkusen games. They're at that stage where we've got 1 month to go. They're completely dead. And I totally get them. We don't have the team to play in 2 tournaments. But we're in that stage where we have reached a massive position in Europa League, and we're still in a race for a massive position in this area. And we have to keep going, even if the squad depth isn't there. Because we can't let one of the two... We can't let Champions League slip from our hands. We can't. So, yes, it requires energies, and it requires kind of an end to this injury nightmare, but we have to continue fighting on 2 fronts. Because, yes, Mourinho's a massive expert in Europa League, but if something of the slightest of means goes wrong in Europa League, we are then forced to get top 4 in this area, which is not impossible, but you can definitely tell that the team is more tempted to go for the Europa League path. You can tell. I mean, I'd rather win Europa League and get out of top 4, because at least I can say I won a trophy. But, we have to remain faithful. We have to remain positive, and we can't let Champions League slip away from us. We can't. So that's the question. That's the answer to my do we go all in Europa League question. We have to keep on going. We have to keep on going on 2 different fronts. So yeah, again, I wanna focus on other teams too, because I think the fact that we're so close to everyone else in top 4 deserves a few minutes to speak about our opponents. Now, we are very lucky that Milan and Inter are in a very similar position to us. Milan and Inter are obviously going to play semi-finals of a Champions League. So they're in a similar position to us. They are going to fight on 2 fronts. But obviously, the question, do we go all in the Europe and in the Champions League, for them is a bit harder than for us, because obviously for them to go all in Champions League, they have to beat either Man City or Real Madrid. And that's obviously on another level compared to going all in and beating either, first of all, Bayer Leverkusen, but either Juventus or Seville. So I think Milan and Inter are forced to continue going in this area, because I don't want to hide it, but I don't want to undermine them by any means. But Man City and Real Madrid are clearly better than them. So they obviously have got Champions League though. So, and the good thing about when we face Inter is that when we face Inter basically 2 days before they face Milan in the semi-finals, and 3 days before we face Leverkusen. So it's going to be a game where 2 teams are going to have turnover. We're playing at home. I could see something happen in that Inter game. I could see something happen in the Inter game more than the Milan game. I think this Milan game is going to be vital. If we win this Saturday against Milan, oh my God, open a champagne bottle. But it's going to be tough because Leao's on great form, injury crisis, fatigue. I mean, we do have a 1 week rest. So, yes. And then obviously Juventus, because you've probably been reading the latest news on Juventus. Juventus 15 points back. They got the 15 points back. They got the 15 points back. Yes, they did get the 15 points back momentarily, but it is very likely, and in fact, I've been told that it's very, very, very extremely likely that Ceferin, the UEFA boss, is going to ban them from European tournaments next season. And I hate winning like this, but if they cheat, they have to be punished. And obviously, I would rather get into top 4 by actually getting into top 4 than getting into top 4 with a team not playing and all of that. But there's a massive chance that Juventus are going to be banned from European tournaments, as reported today by big sources. A lot of people, a lot of journalists, a lot of experts are very confident on this, that Juventus is going to be banned from European tournaments. And that obviously, if that happens, then there are going to be 2 spaces left in the series. And that does make things very much easier. Not completely done yet, because I think a massive mistake which we could make is the second we read these news, the players start going, oh yeah, Juventus is gonna be banned from European tournaments. Let's go all in the Europa League because we're gonna get top four guaranteed. That's wrong, because if we do that, then we don't get Champions League. It's a big thing. I think the big fight is between us, Milan, and Inter. Atalanta, yeah, they beat us 2 times. I don't think Atalanta's got the squad. And I think their calendar isn't the easiest. So I'm not worried about Atalanta necessarily. I'm more worried about Milan and Inter. But we can't completely cut Atalanta off because they beat us 2 times this season. So yeah, the Juventus front could open up a spectrum of hope. We can't base too much knowledge on it, because Juventus is always Juventus. Juventus are well known for cheating. So yeah, but it would be big news for us. Looking at the calendar of Inter and Milan, I think that the hardest calendar is Inter. Inter have got the hardest calendar of all. Let me read you Inter's calendar. Juventus tomorrow in the Coppa Italia. Lazio on Sunday. Verona away is one of those dickhead games. They still have to fight to not get relegated. They're playing at home. Then they're playing us at the Olimpico, Milan in the Champions League, Sassuolo at home, Milan in the Champions League, Napoli, Atalanta and Torino away. Inter have got a terrible calendar. We've got a pretty terrible calendar too, but Inter have got a worse one, trust me. They basically still need to play against every big team. Lazio, Roma, Milan in the Champions League, Juventus in the Coppa Italia, Napoli in the league, Atalanta in the league, and Torino away. That's one hell of a tough calendar. And then obviously you've got Milan, who have got one of the easiest. Milan have got us this weekend, Cremonese at home, Lazio at home, Inter in the Champions League, La Spezia away, Inter in the Champions League, Sampdoria at home, Juventus away, and Verona at home. It's not the easiest, but it's not the hardest. The easiest calendar is without a doubt Lazio, but to be fair, I really don't think Lazio. I can't see Lazio slip up. It can't not possibly happen. They don't even have European tournaments to worry about. Lazio's not going to slip up. This is why I'm going to say it, and it's probably the only time I'm going to say this in the course of my entire life. This weekend, I hate to say it, but I would fancy a Lazio win away at Inter. I really would. Again, why did I say that? I don't know. But, Lazio have got Inter away, Sassuolo at home, Milan away, Lecce at home, Udinese away, Cremonese at home, and Empoli away. Yes, Lazio are well known for losing points against little teams. They don't have European tournaments. They are second with 5 points, clear from Milan. Come on, they can't slip it up. I'd love to see them slip it up, but it really will not happen. So, yes, that's the situation. Let's read some comments. If Juventus wins Europa League and be in top 4 at the same time, doesn't it mean that the 5th place in Serie A is also in the Champions League? The same goes to Inter Milan through winning. So, I don't have confirmations on that, but my guess is if Juventus is not allowed to participate in European tournaments next season, even if they win Europa League, obviously they won't go to the Champions League. That means that whoever gets 5th in the Serie A does get top 4. But obviously Juventus want to try and win Europa League because it will massively financially support them. If Juventus can't play in the Champions League next season and get thrown out by Europa League, they are in a mess financially. They are forced to sell massive players. So, I don't know about that. All I know is that whoever gets... There's a little risk, which is so unlikely to happen. But I was reading that if whoever gets 4th in the league, if Juventus win Europa League, and either Inter or Milan win Champions League, whoever gets 4th in the league doesn't get Champions League because too many teams have qualified for Italy. However, that was written when this thing about Juventus not participating in European tournaments hadn't been yet kind of thrown out. So I don't know how the things change. You know what? I don't want to think about other teams. I don't want to think about other options. I don't want to think about the calendars of other teams. I just want the team to be fully focused on their calendar. There is no need for us to sneak into, for the players and the team to sneak into and see, oh, maybe Lazio, maybe Inter, maybe Milan will slip a few points. Yeah, okay, they can, but we got to get as many points as possible in our calendar. So we have to continue on our path. There is no need to sneak peek other calendars. There is no need to look at this Juventus situation. As much as it is important to us, we got to focus on us. We are in an injury crisis, but we've got a lot to play for. We're in a great position on two fronts. We have to continue. We have to continue going, because we can't let Champions League slip. Where are you from? I am from Italy. I'm Italian. I'm from Rome. How come you speak English? I go to an English school. But I think the players earn money and they have to work 100%. Yeah, I agree on that. But players are human beings too. I know they're professionals. I know the team pays them to do this. But they are human beings too. So it's completely normal for a team who has played 120 minutes of a high intensity in a quarter-final of a European tournament 4 days before Serie A. It's completely normal for us to be tired. And obviously Atalanta took advantage of that. Yeah, I agree partially on what you say, but on the other hand, fatigue and injuries are going to come. So we have to be prepared on that. Leao will terrorize. Don't worry, I've got Leao. We can go through Leverkusen, but the final I think we've got Leverkusen to focus on first, mate. There is no need for us. In fact, I'd rather we don't focus on the final right now. You know why? Because if we focus too much on the final right now and we get thrown out of Bayer Leverkusen, we stick that up our asses. So that's why let's focus on Bayer Leverkusen first. There is no need to focus on that final. The day that final will come, if that final will come, is the day we worry about that final. Before, we've got games in the Serie A and games against Leverkusen. Martin Deron breaks his arm doing the... Yeah, Martin Deron's a dick. Draw against Milan is coming. I think the big goal from both the two Milan teams is to try and get 4 points. 4 points from the two games. A win and a draw between Milan and Inter. Sign my name. So yeah, look. That was the little update today, the plan of May. If you enjoyed the live stream, feel free to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. All in Europa League, not all in Europa League. Should we focus on both fronts? Injury crisis. Let me know all of that in the comments below. I'll be very curious to read and respond to all of your comments. Let's see what you guys think. 57% say yes, all in Europa League. That is a big statement. And 42% say no. Pretty balanced, but the majority of you guys says yes. Interesting. I was not expecting that, but that's the fun of these live streams. I'm going to catch you tomorrow for more updates, slowly preparing for that Milan game, a vital game. And yeah, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, click everything down below, and I'll catch you very, very soon. Simon, out.